getting mocked and beat up by Ted Johnson this show. No. So we'll start there. We're having fun. He's having fun bullying me. But, Tom, the basic root of our argument is I said I feel like somewhere along the lines the Patriots got overrated, or I've seen others use the word overhyped this offseason. I've seen a lot of predictions now that the schedule's out for 10-plus wins and playoffs. Am I way off basis? Or are people setting themselves up for disappointment? What are your thoughts on sort of where the Patriots are right now in their hype?
I went through this with Phil last night a little bit. It was ironic because I kept reminding him he was being a little too optimistic. They were 32nd in the NFL in sacks. They were the worst offensive line in the league. They had the worst wide receiver room. That's not all going to magically go away by Columbus Day. It's going to take some time. That first 4 weeks, I'm looking at 2-2, hopefully. But, you could look at any of those games they could lose. They could lose Carolina. Phil was convinced that they're not going to lose to Pittsburgh at home. I'm like, my God, why not? They'll probably have Aaron Rodgers. So, but when it was all said and done, we both had them at 9-8.
Even after all that?
Yeah.
All right. I'm curious, Tom, because, when you look at what are indicators? Do you look at, what the Patriots' opponents, quarterbacks, do you look? Okay, yes. Is that one of the? What are your main things that you look at when you're trying to figure out wins and losses?
Home. Yep. They should be able to play better home. They've won really, literally 2 games at home in the last 2 years. You can't even really include the Buffalo game.
Yeah, please don't.
2 games. They've won 2 games in 2 years. They have to be better at home, and they should be. They have a very kind home schedule. So I look at that as an indicator. The quarterback, we went through it. Drake May is better than 11 of the quarterbacks he'll face. We do not have him better than Geno Smith at the beginning of the year. First time with McDaniels. So, but other than that, there were 11 quarterbacks that he was better than in our, our analysis, our evaluation of it. That could change. He's got to improve. I'm presuming improvement. So it's those 2 things are big, and the fact that the defense should be rebuilt and not get rototilled on a regular basis, and that they should be a better coached team with more coherence. And also I'd add this last thing too, Ted. The sense of urgency, I think, that is kind of being infused right now, as opposed to Bill in 2022, Bill in 2020, Gerard last year. There was kind of we'll see how it goes. We'll play this out. It's a reset year. I don't really think that they're pretending that it is right now, even though it kind of is a rebuild season still.
Yeah, Tommy, it's funny because my question to you was going to be, having listened to some of the pod with you and the Senator, you spoke of this renewed sense of urgency at practice, in the locker room, on the field, and why and where you thought that was coming from, and why in the world it wasn't there the last couple of years.
Well, 2022 was a year in which they had no offensive coordinator nor a plan for offensive coordinator, and I think that Bill operated on how bad could it be? We're a smart group. We can coach offense. And the alienation of the quarterback led to what happened in 2023, where, it was just dysfunction. So I just don't think that so that was basically a year we'll get out of this kid and we'll move on to somebody else in 2024, which they did, but Bill wasn't part of it. And then last year, they basically announced this is a rebuilding year. It's a foundational year. It's a building year, which I personally was okay with the notion of it as long as they closed strong. But I think all year long, excusing things as being growing pains and slow playing, really, I guess, standards led to a decline down the stretch. So to me, I think that a lot of it has been tied to their circumstances, and they've allowed themselves to make excuses or take excuses that were sitting there and saying, it's going to take a minute. And I don't think that they're at least outwardly doing that. I do think that among the coaching staff, I'm sure there's some trepidation about how exactly things are going to work out in individual situations. Like, how's Garrett Bradbury going to be, for instance? How's Morgan Moses going to be? Those are things you have to be concerned about. But outwardly, they're very urgent in terms of setting their expectations. And I think that Milton Williams quote, when he was doing the conditioning run and he was coasting because he was going to finish well ahead of what he needed to, and Vrabel being on him for that, I think was indicative of that.
Tom Curran, NBC Sports Boston, here with us on WEEI Afternoons. Tom, you know this, when there's a shiny object that's either available or might be available, we ask you about it. So the latest version of that would be Trey Hendrickson went vocal with his displeasure with the Bengals. Seems like it's almost personal now with his head coach.
Yeah.
Any chance the Patriots would have interest in that? Any chance he's actually available? Any chance we could dream about that? You mentioned the pass rush being a weakness earlier. It'd be nice to add 17 sacks.
Yeah, they've added, Landry, who I think is really a little underrated. People looked at him as being the kind of the head-scratching free agent signing. But to me, I look at their pass rushes should be significantly improved. So Hendrickson, they got the room. They didn't spend it all in free agency. It would be interesting to see if they would make a move like that, because he's going to be obviously a huge ticket item. With probably a Bosa-type contract or in that neighborhood. So it would be – I haven't heard anything on that, to be honest, but I wouldn't say that they should be closed for business. They should be among the teams who would be looking to improve still because of their cap situation.
Hey, Tom, I'm curious. Just, I get excited about the schedule. Me and Fitzy, Andy can take it or leave it. But I'm just curious. You have any kind of big takeaways? The fact that they got 3 primetime games this year, or that they're 15 of their games are in the Eastern Time Zone, which is incredible to me. Any other takeaways that from the schedule that piqued your interest?
Those 3 road games in a row, that's a tough little stretch. The late bye, I think, is also worth mentioning. No, it doesn't come until December 1st. So those are things, and also the late Thursday night game, so you don't get one of those quick turnaround 10-day breaks either until a little bit later in the season. So I think all of those are things to look at that they'll circle. But I really like that opening game with the Raiders, because it's not like the revenge games. Ted, I was doing a thing today, 17 subplots for 17 games, and the first one I went to was the Raiders. And, we'll jokingly call it the Jacoby Myers revenge game and the ties that go back and forth. When you think about revenge games, we've had some great ones here. Fitzy, you'll remember.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if you will, Andy. Like Carlton Fisk coming back in 1981 with the White Sox, hitting a home run. All the Roger Clemens games. But I don't think there was any more electric revenge game than Tuna Bowl 1 in 1997, Ted.
Yeah. Oh, that was – are you kidding me? That was as good as it got.
That was an unbelievable game.
Yep.
And is there Tommy, go ahead, please.
I was just going to say that Raiders game will be interesting because Patrick Graham is their defensive coordinator. McDaniels hired him. He has stayed through the entire time, so it'll be McDaniels against Patrick Graham. And my guess is that McDaniels will not show anything in training camp or the preseason, but it'll be a very interesting first week to see what they'll unveil with Drake May and their offensive game plan.
And then also, Tom, you got, Pete Carroll. Had, 3 years here and didn't work out, so Pete Carroll too,
that.
Super Bowl 49 as well. It's Ashton Genty's debut game. Tom Brady, partial owner. I mean, will he be there Saturday if there's a statue unveiling? Tommy, to me, that's as juicy. I freaking love the opener as well, and I love the schedule too. But I want to see if we can get you in on this. So Andy and Ted had a zesty discussion earlier about which, with Ted asking Andy, do you think there's any one room, any one grouping that the Patriots have not gotten better at, from coaches to tight ends, wide receivers, offensive line, etc.? So I ask you, Tommy Curran, do you think there is any one positional grouping, room, etc., the Pats have not improved in this offseason?
Tight end.
That's what I said. That's what Andy said.
Status quo. They stayed status quo with tight end, I think. Quarterback, they might have gotten a little worse, I think. I think Jacoby Brissett's probably better than Josh Dobbs, and they don't have a third quarterback like Joe Milton at the moment. You got to presume that Drake May will be better, though. Running back's better. Wide receivers better. Offensive line's better. Defensive line should be a hell of a lot better. Linebacker, that'll be an interesting, place to measure how much better they'll be. Who will be the signal caller defensively? With Bentley gone, would they go with Savai again as their signal caller? So I think those are all interesting places to look at. Safety, they signed a kid, Marcus Epps, who should be a free safety. It'll be interesting to see where they go with Mapu. But I think that generally they've improved What about slot corner? What do you think?
Yeah,
with
John Jones gone.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, we were thinking secondary overall with safety
Marcus
health
Jones,
and the
Marcus
outside
Jones
corners.
at the nickel.
Yeah, but you're better on the outside with
Alex
Carl
Austin
Davis.
maybe could step in.
Yeah.
Tom, before we
Carl Davis.
Yeah,
Carl Davis is there.
Before we let you go, I don't know if you care about this. We're going to talk about it a little bit later, but we all know these videos that the NFL teams put out are a big deal. They all put them out to varying degrees of success. Some have to then pull them down and apologize for them.
I saw.
Yeah, what are your thoughts on the videos in general, and what did you think of the Patriots video that they put out?
They're fun if you do a good job. Otherwise, they're just hokey.
Yep.
Was it the Jaguars who used the singer Sabrina Carpenter?
No, the Jaguars used their schedule release was the Ashton Hall.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of
Whoever
badass.
used the Sabrina Carpenter thing was a stretch. It was a TikTok video.
Yeah.
Didn't really amuse. If it's funny, great.
Yeah.
And no one knows that better than me. If it's not funny, it's not great. I've watched many Quick Slant shows, and that's not funny. Don't do that again.
Hey, I'm curious, Tom. Are you going to be watching GMA tomorrow morning?
No.
Okay.
I will watch the highlights certainly, but I'm not setting. I'll watch the PGA before I watch that.
You think anything comes out of that? You think anything good? I mean, how do you feel? Oh, that's
no.
It's
going to be so fawning and cozy, and he'll be calling him coach and all that.
Yeah.
I know. We can.
That's sums up how I feel.
No, I'm with you, Tom. I can only handle so many now Belichick revisionist. Like there's a new conversation between he and Dabo that's moderated by Reese Davis. Like the apology
wrestling
tour and the whitewashing of what's gone on is just bananas. But what are you gonna do?
Yeah. So, but I'll be interested to hear what he says. I mean, there's only so long you can talk about the 80s Giants and the 90s Patriots and how you had to prepare for Tom because he was always going to be so prepared to, your meetings with him. I mean, he needs a very successful year. I'll ask you this, and you can bat this around. I find this an interesting conversation. Is the door completely slammed shut and sealed that Bill will never return to the NFL? It kind of feels that way.
Yes.
It would feel like he's radioactive.
Yep.
However, it was presented to me, all the Tar Heels have to do is go 13-1 and qualify for the BCS, and all that other stuff goes away.
All right, Tom Curran,
probably right.
You're probably right, but all I have to do is be a better jumper and dunk, and then they'll think I'm a better athlete.
Grow 5 more inches.
Grow 5 more inches, and I'll be in the NFL with Ted. We'll talk to you next week, Tom Curran. Thanks for joining us.